Make way! Make way! What in all the heavens is going on over here?" Suddenly, a single voice was on the lips of every person in the street.
"Preston Godricson, the Duke's own second oldest son, has come to save his youngest boy."
Stewart, Sarah, and Baylor each bowed their heads respectfully as the Duke's son approached the scene. They slowly backed away, careful to show they had not directly fought in the conflict that had evidently occurred. Voices whispered throughout the crowd as several people placed bets on whether or not Nathan would be killed on the spot or arrested. For despite his well-known power, Preston Godricson was a high-level apprentice stage warrior, as were many of his guards. No matter what happened, everyone knew there was about to be an exciting showdown. As soon as Preston arrived, Alexander had taken advantage of the surprise and rolled away in the mud over to his father's feet. He vehemently pointed at Nathan, who stood frozen in place with his sword at his side.
"Father, help! This monster attacked me after he'd got in the way of my horse. After that, he slandered our entire family as well. You must uphold justice and strike him down."
Preston merely grimaced with disgust as he looked over his pathetic younger son. The crowd's derision was obvious, and Preston kicked at his son to get him back to his feet.
"Get up, you Stop! You're embarrassing our entire family."
As Alexander stood, Preston scoffed at his son's cowardice. It was obvious to all in the crowd that earlier on Alexander had pissed his pants. His trousers were soaking wet as he wiped away his tears and brushed the mud off of his shoulders. Preston shook his head at his disappointing son.
"I can't believe it. You've soiled yourself like a little weakling. Get your disgusting body out of my way and shut your mouth."
"But, Father, please, you have to understand."
"Silence! I'll strike you down myself if I hear another word from you. If you weren't my son, I'd pretend I didn't know you at all. I mean, how could you possibly fall to such a sorry state? Even if this young noble's as tough as everyone says, you ought to conduct yourself better than that."
Alexander nodded and hung his head low as Preston drew his sword and approached Nathan. But before he could cross swords with Nathan, Stewart Lightstone interceded once more. He was desperate for this situation to end peacefully so that they could continue on their journey into the nearby plaza and forget this whole thing ever happened.
"Sir Preston, please, stay your hand for just a moment.
It was your son Alexander who rode his horse into our path and nearly ran us over. Nathan was merely defending our honor after Alexander tried to whip the good Lady Hale. I swear on my life that Nathan was not the instigator, sir." Nathan frowned as Stewart stepped in front of him and held his hands up defensively to try to diffuse the tension. Preston Godricson snarled as he absent-mindedly twirled his blade around in his hands. Nathan sensed the man's killing intent and knew that such a man would never let an embarrassing event like this go so easily. Once again, Nathan feared that Stewart's diplomacy was in vain. He could only hope that his friend would get out of the way before the fighting started. The many watchers in the crowd gasped at Stewart's brash decision to try to defuse the situation in the middle of the street. Preston Godricson blinked. He was stunned that Stewart Lightstone would get between him and Nathan. Although Preston still had no idea who it was his son Alexander had offended, he never expected that one of them would risk their own life to peacefully end the situation. Preston lowered his sword blade as his gaze switched from Nathan to Stewart.
"How bold of you to try to counsel me! State your name, child."
My name, Sir Preston?"
"Yes. Who are you? From which family do you hail?"
Stewart sighed. From Sir Preston's aggressive tone, it seemed as though conflict was inevitable. After all, this was Duke Godricson's son, and the incident had occurred in the main street of the Duke's city. Preston was no doubt compelled to act strong before his people. Still, Stewart decided to continue on his diplomatic path for as long as possible. "My name is Stewart Lightstone, the youngest son of the High Lord Lightstone." "Ah, yes, the Lightstones, indeed. And who is this young troublemaker here beside you?" Preston glared at Nathan as he spoke to Stewart. Nathan did not move a muscle as he overheard a number of frantic whispers in the nearby crowd.
Uh-oh, I heard that Preston's other son, Roderick, already hates Nathan. Once Preston learns who it is he's facing, this thing will no doubt turn into a...
You said it. We're in for a good show now. I wonder if Nathan Hayfield will dare to try to beat up Preston Godricson in public with his guards around him. Even if he could, he'd never do such an outlandish thing. After all, Duke Godricson would come after him personally, and then the fiefdom would devolve into an all-out rebellion.
Nathan's attention came back to Preston, whose nostrils flared at his opponent's insolence. "I just asked you a question, boy. What is your name? I will not ask a third time." The tension in the air rose to an oppressing level. Stewart sighed as he realized his diplomacy had once again failed, although he was confident that Nathan could destroy Sir Preston easily. He knew that the noble's guards would fight back as well. In the chaos that would ensue, it was almost certain that one of the guards would be able to slink away and alert the rest of the Godricson guard, as well as the Duke himself. This was the Godricson family's city, after all. In a matter of moments, they'd be surrounded by hundreds of warriors, and what good would Nathan's strength be then against such an onslaught? There was no way they could all withstand the attack of so many powerful foes. As everyone fell silent, the tension built and built, until Stewart could barely watch it himself without tensing up. Sir Preston's face was only inches away from Nathan's. Finally, Nathan's expressionless face gave way to a calm smile. "The name's Nathan. Nathan Hayfield. I'm just a humble son of a rural lord, good sir." Sir Preston's confident smirk froze. For a moment, all the eyes in the crowd watched as his expression changed drastically into a snarl. Everyone flinched as Sir Preston's sword arched up in the air. Everyone, that is, except for Nathan, for he knew by then that the sword was not meant for him.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.